Welcome to Momentum Makers, where we talk to the movers, shakers, and the game changers within the real estate industry. Joining me today is Nicole Merwin from CCMe. How are you, Nicole?
I'm good. Nice to be here.
Nice. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to our first one. Don't tell anybody.
Okay, it's our little secret.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself. You are currently the owner of CCMe, a transaction coordination company, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. So I have been part of the transaction management company since its foundation back in 2018.
Okay.
And then I actually bought it from the owner about 2.5 years into the business itself. And then this year is when we did the rebrand of a whole new name. And but it's myself and a team of 6 behind us at this point.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the rebrand because
Okay.
I saw the sign. I'm like, I just don't get it. Because I thought it was like a carryover from the prior company, and then you just threw me on there like an iPhone or something. And we were actually sitting down at a conference, and I just looked at you and my jaw dropped open. I'm like, oh,
It clicked.
CC me. Duh. For all of your transaction problems,
Yep.
CC me. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much.
How did you come up with that?
So it was really funny because prior company's name was Contract to Close, right? And the whole point was we needed a name that was not utilized by dozens of companies across the country, whether it's spelt with a number 2 or the TO or whatever it might be, right? And I needed to be able to trademark it. So I needed something unique, something that was kind of defined the role without just being transaction coordinator or transaction manager. And I had played around with tons of words for a couple weeks. And I actually ended up being in a conversation with 4 of my really close TC friends. Kind of
Whole little secret community of
secret
TC?
community
Okay.
that we're in, but a couple close ones that we've been really close for a couple of years. And I'm sure we were ranting about something that we do within our industry. And one of the girls had said, remember to have them CC you. So that's how she put it, was CC you. And I had been like messing with logos and stuff with this whole time. And the second she said that, it clicked in my head. And I was like, CC me.
It's fantastic.
So, and then the whole thing was born, and it was close enough to the last company name where you could still utilize the abbreviations and stuff like that it didn't really confuse anyone too much. Some people thought it was a play with my last name, the first 2 letters being ME. So, but I'm glad that it clicked and that it really is CC us on every transaction, every email you send. It's that elevator pitch we give of just, even if you think it's the littlest thing, CC me.
Well, and to have your company name built into your elevator pitch as something that's already commonly used in the language is brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So brilliant, I missed it. And I think I'm pretty smart. But now that I get it, I'm like, brilliant. Like we were getting ready to come over here. I'm like, I'll CC you in a second.
Yep, exactly.
And
it works.
You gave me a courtesy laugh, so thank you very much. Well, why do you work in the TC space?
So I got started in the industry actually as an agent. I have been licensed for 12 or 14 years now. I don't even know how long it's been. I just don't practice. My license is there. And when I first started in the industry, I got very lucky because my broker at the time actually represented and did all of the HUD homes, so bank-owned homes in Northern Nevada, right? So I got spoiled in the sense of I didn't have to deal with people. I dealt with a bank and I dealt with paperwork. And I quickly learned through that is what I loved. I did not like dealing with the buyers and the sellers and the emotions and everything else that you as agents deal with. So I got really good at the paperwork and the systems and the streamlined aspect to it. It's very much like, if you are the type that loves checklists, you love being a TC, right? to have a list of things and be able to check it all off, that I've done it all. It's in that order. And so it's a very repetitive nature for us. And we're also the type that don't necessarily want to be out there speaking and gaining clients and things like that. We like being behind the desk and the behind the scenes person. I can sit at my computer for 12, 14 hours a day. But that's how it originally started. Was I got spoiled with the paperwork. Then I started working for an agent as a buyer's agent. Quickly learned, additional agents needed help with their paperwork. So it went from her to doing it within the brokerage, and then it's just kind of expanded since.
I like that. So you found some other agents who needed some help with their paperwork.
Yep.
And how many transactions did CCMe handle last year?
Oh, over 1,300 files we closed last year, right?
Okay.
So you tack on, what, a 10%, 15% cancellation rate on top of that.
Okay.
We're processing around 1,700 probably a year between listings and escrows. But we actually closed around 1,300.
That's insane.
Thank you.
So with all those transactions that are coming across your desk, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What do you wish agents knew or did that they don't know or don't do?
Oh.
No names.
That's a loaded question. So it's funny. Okay, my biggest one, replying all.
Okay.
Right? It's not just leaving the paperwork to us. It's actually the communication within an email too. Replying all. Or the fact that if you are trying to be really proactive and you throw us onto a reply that we weren't part of, and then you're just like, hey, I'm looping in my TC. She'll get everything going. We don't get everything behind that, right? We don't get the contract and the attachments. Like, you still have to forward it to us.
Okay.
So on that level, that's our biggest thing is the email management when it comes to agents. The biggest surprises you're going to see, or that we think are kind of insane, are like the fact that the acceptance box isn't marked on an offer. We've actually run into scenarios where an agent would send us the contract and say, hey, like, we have a brand new escrow, like, let's get this going. And they sent it to us as a rejection. Turns out it was rejected. And I really hope that she didn't call her clients before that and say, your offer's been accepted. But it's those little things in the check boxes or the signature in the right line or initial that truly change the outcome to it, that kind of really take you by surprise.
Big difference between acceptance and rejection.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that one would have been tough.
That was a little disheartening. I felt bad there.
I'm not going to lie, when I was a baby agent, I did that once too.
So it happens, but it's like, I do, in this scenario, I do think she had told the client that it was accepted. But let's say that was you out on the road and you just forwarded it to me and said it was accepted, right? I would have, seen that immediately and been able to respond to you before you called your client. So in that scenario, it sucked that we didn't get to it beforehand. But it is, it's one of the things we could help with as far as like, maybe don't say anything to your client until we start processing it, just in case.
It's the second set of eyes that a lot of people don't, I think, put enough value on.
Yes.
Having, like, you can think you're the best in the world and you're still a human being and will make a mistake. So it's always nice to have a second set of eyes. Yep.
And I mean, the industry is constantly changing, right? Between the paperwork that is involved or the process itself, it is a very systematic process that we've all been used to. Escrows are 95% the same across the country. But things do change, or, for us, we see it on such a volume and such a scale that we can take something from one escrow and go and kind of see a pattern starting to shift, right? Of maybe its commission instructions are starting to change. Now they're 3 pages, right? And kind of preempt and know that that's coming to where we can kind of instruct you guys a little bit of like, hey, like, might need to modify this one because they're no longer doing this.
Okay, so with that volume that you see, you have probably more eyes on the industry than any individual agent team or probably most brokerages.
I would say so.
Okay.
Depending on everyone's, size and scale. But yeah, we see such a huge range that, and we can look at our stats too, month over month, year over year, and we can see, and we can not necessarily predict, but we can anticipate what's going to happen within us as a company based upon interest rate changes, right? Because we can compare it to a couple years ago and where were we at and what did our numbers do and why did we have a slight dip right there, right? Or why did it slow down? Whether it's the winter months, whatever it might be, but we do see all of that.
Fascinating.
And it's the type of stuff that, you know, it's the geeky stuff that I like to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you really get to kind of go, you know, nope, I don't need to hire somebody right now because this is going to pick up in 2 months. I don't need to waste my time on that. But also just to, as you know, talking with my agents, it's a way for me to say, like, especially right now in our market, I can tell you at this point, 80% of our files are coming across with a buyer's brokerage agreement, which we have not seen
Mm-hmm.
in the last 4 years, right? That number might have been like 10%, if that.
If that.
And not just seeing them, but enforcing them as well, right? That's the big one, is people would have them, but not enforce them.
Mm-hmm.
So that type of stuff, we really start to pick up on and kind of either adjust what we need to do as a company, or tailor stuff to agents, or, you know, put out services that are going to make that easier for them.
So what other, not predictions, you don't make what other patterns are you seeing emerging right now? Interest rates are crazy unsettled. It's an election year. Who knows what's going on overseas?
Yep.
Are you seeing a change in volume? Or is it too early to tell, or is it really just pedal to the metal?
So for us, we saw a dip actually more at the beginning of the year, this year, right? Right now we're stable. I know we're hearing a lot of talks of the market being slow, and interest rates were just raised.
Yes, they were quite drastically.
But we're still seeing stuff put into escrow. Okay. So that's not going away. We're still seeing seller concessions. So I think everyone is very aware of what's going on in the market, but we're not seeing it take the effect that I think some people anticipate it to take.
Okay.
We are keeping our numbers steady. We're actually up. We are in April, so March's numbers last month. Our business is up 30%, even though the market is down, 10, I think, roughly, right? So the fact that we're seeing that growth, and, you know, we work with such a scale of agents. I will say, and I have said for like the last year and a half, if our agents were at their normal capacity, we would probably have about double to triple our file count.
Okay.
So we can tell on an individual level that those agents have slowed down. But with the volume we do, we're still seeing all the escrows still put into contract there.
And you get enough little pieces of information.
Enough little nuggets that we can kind of gauge and judge.
Industry still cranking.
Yes.
Now you have some big news, right? I don't know if you really know, if anybody else really knows, but you are a RE/MAX approved supplier. We
are, as of this year.
What does that mean?
So a RE/MAX approved supplier is somebody that RE/MAX headquarters, that's throughout the nation, has deemed is, I don't even know how to say that.
You can brag, it's okay.
We are a preferred provider of theirs for our service, right?
Okay.
The amazing thing is we are the only provider as a transaction coordinator company that RE/MAX has. They have things like your dot loops that are your compliance platforms, but not an actual service that you can go as an agent and employ to help you with your files. And so it took us, I should say, it took me all of last year, probably about the last 6 to 8 months of interviews and conversations and applications, and we finally got the news in February, and I could not be more excited. It's just kind of like a little badge of honor that like we're not just we're not just like your niece's daughter that you hired off the street to do your transactions.
Yeah.
Like it was some validation for us that we are a legitimate company that they felt comfortable in saying like, yes, they can handle your files and they are good at what they do.
That's awesome.
And have that recommendation. Yeah.
But for everybody who's watching, you work outside of the RE/MAX network as well, correct?
We do. We're actually in over 32 brokerages currently.
Okay.
So RE/MAX is a big part of that, right? So we have different RE/MAX franchises that we're a part of, but we work from other big box names like your EXP, LPTs, things like that, down to like the little mom and pop brokerages and your boutique ones as well. So as long as the brokerage allows it, we have no issue going into and helping out that agent.
Brand agnostic, I think they call it.
Yes.
So are you just located here where we're sitting right now in Nevada, or what does your service territory look like?
So we are, home base is Nevada, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is where I live. It's where I've worked. So we have a huge market share where we're at locally. We are spanned as far as our employees across the country. We are processing files from California to Texas. I have Hawaii going on. We're possibly even going into Canada in a couple weeks. So we really are in any state that allows us. So that is the big thing with us as a company, as to what services we can provide to the agent, and based upon their state will dictate what we can and cannot do, right? Certain states do not allow unlicensed assistants to do certain things, which hinders our job, and it really makes it to where there's really no purpose of having us there. You're going to need to hire like a full-time staff member, right? I will be the first to say your attorney states are the ones where it's a little like, got a lawyer involved. Don't really need a transaction coordinator. In my opinion, you might want to cut this one, but if you've got an attorney involved, I feel like the real estate agent is kind of the transaction coordinator at that point, because the attorney will handle it all.
We'll see what happens.
Sorry.
I don't know. It's up to you if you want us to cut that.
I love my agents, don't get me wrong, but there is just a certain point where you don't need the transaction coordinator, or you are doing the work.
That makes sense.
So it's just not necessary.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go and gather up 50 real estate licenses.
No. So, so for us too, we practice under the guidelines of the unlicensed assistant based upon whatever state we're in.
Okay.
Right? So that's really what dictates it. Typically it's you don't negotiate, you don't advise, we don't write offers, things like that. Certain states have the rule where you can't interpret the contract. Well, as a transaction coordinator, my job is to interpret the contract, right? I'm there to pull the dates out for you and to keep you on track and send you those reminders and do everything. So if I can't do that, it's also a loosely based term. What is interpretation, right? If the definitions are there and spelled out. That said, there are workarounds to that, right? We can send what we deem as the contract timeline to you as the agent, have you approve it, and then work with that. Just kind of gives us a little extra roadblock.
Yeah.
To actually doing, the job we want to perform for you. But yeah, there's certain states too where, you can only work under a certain brokerage. You can't work outside of other brokerages. So it really all depends.
Okay. What else do I need to know about the process? Like, I suppose we've just talked about what you do as a transaction coordinator in a transaction coordinator company. But for folks out there who are maybe don't know, maybe new in the industry, walk us through the process, I suppose.
What we actually do?
Yeah.
What your job
is.
So
Why?
The interesting thing about being a transaction coordinator is that every agent and every brokerage has a different idea of what a TC should be or could be, right?
Okay.
Some will hire 9-to-5 assistants. Some will utilize the in-house staff. We are completely independent, right? So what we do is we try to take everything that we know about the transaction process and scale it to the point that it works for any agent in any state, in any place, right? So typically what we do is we will take an executed contract, we will send it to title, to escrow, to the lender. We start notifying you of all the deadlines, keeping you on top of that type of stuff. We can help draft addendums for you, order your inspections. We make sure your commission instructions are signed. You have a settlement statement to review. The preliminary title report came in and it was sent to your client. Association docs, same thing, right? And through all of that, it's not just managing the contract and keeping you up to date. It's also managing your compliance system for your brokerage, right? Making sure the disclosures they need are required, or that are required, are signed and uploaded, that they're approving those documents. If they're not, we're either notifying you or getting that direction to correct them, however we need to do so. And we check that compliance system every couple of days. Some every brokerage operates differently. Some review them the second they're uploaded, some review them days later. And we're not always notified of the approval or disapproval, right? So we are not relying on you as the agent to get us that. So we're going to go into your compliance system and we're going to see, what did your brokerage call out? What did they note? How can we fix it? And it's just kind of all of that, right? It's everything from your contract to close process. Your client is always kept up to date. You are CC'd in literally everything that we send. We utilize your signing platforms, so we're sending as you as well, right? So if you asked me to send out an addendum on a 4:30 on a Friday, and maybe you needed to revise it or something like that, right? It's still in your system to go into on Saturday or Sunday and to help with that. So you always have access to everything we are always doing. It is never as us. We are merely an extension of you, right? Everything we do is co-branded with you. Your brokerage colors, all of that. We even send a summary report to the client once a week that kind of breaks down the contract a little bit more of what to expect. And again,
here's where you are in the process. This is what's coming up. That's fantastic.
And again, branded to you, right? So we're very much the client should always know that you are still the first line of communication, right? We are there just to help, just to kind of keep the agent on track. Even the deadline reminders and stuff that we send, we're not involving the client. Client doesn't make the decisions as to, write the addendum to extend. We're going to send it to you as the agent, and then we're going to wait for you to tell us to do anything, right? If you want to let the contingency expire, that's on you guys. We're there to say, hey, just as an FYI, it does expire today or it expires tomorrow. What do you want us to do?
Another set of eyes.
Another set of eyes. So, a lot of people put stuff into their calendars. Well, what if you get an amendment or an addendum that changes that and then you forget to change your calendar, right? We didn't forget to change ours.
Okay.
So you get the actual correct, up-to-date reminder itself. So, and then the other thing that we provide all of our agents is we do have an online agent portal. So they can actually see all of their transactions in live time, where we're at, those deadlines and calendar dates again. But we also break down the stats, getting geeky again, right? So now our agents get to see all of that data, and they get to see everything that we've already accumulated throughout the transaction, but they get to see it on a presentable scale. So they get to see their numbers month over month, year over year. Are they more of a buyer's agent versus a seller's agent? List a sales price, that type of stuff. Even like home warranties, concessions is the big one, right? Where if those agents are paying for a home warranty, my favorite is I sat with an agent once, and she got to see her gross commission, which she loved, but then she saw she gave away $11,000 in concessions that year, right, from home warranties and things like that. And that's a huge number to swallow. You don't think of $400 or $500 a transaction.
Yeah, but when it adds up to a used Camry, you start
it's
to
a big
it's
deal,
a big
right?
deal.
And it actually it's a method to reevaluate your business and where can you bring in more money and how to help your bottom line. So it's one of the things I love about us as a company, and that we have that we can offer out to our agents in kind of a just nice, clean way. We don't go into super fine detail, but the stuff as an agent that you just want to see at a glance, that you're just like, all right, I'm doing okay. Or
Top line for the high D personalities.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
So we're going to start a tradition, because this is the first episode.
Okay.
So we're not continuing it, but we're starting it today. And you'll get to participate in this. We're going to ask a question that the prior guest has left for you, not knowing who you are. And so you'll get to do this for the next guest without knowing who they are. But since there was no prior guest, I made one up.
Okay. I was like...
And so my question to you is, what is the most useless piece of information that you know?
43,560.
I told you she was going to say that. And what is that?
It is the square footage of an acre.
I love that.
So it really, any real estate agent will know. It's like the one thing that you remember from real estate classes in school. They don't teach you the ins and outs. They don't teach you to write a contract. But they ingrain that 43,560.
43,560. I've also never had to use accretion.
Nope.
Erosion, not really. I sell in lot and block neighborhoods. I don't need to go walking around 119 degrees this way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say you can't say the number of square feet in an acre, but
I'm the first one. I get to say it.
you
No
get
one
to
else
say
can
whatever
say
you
it
want.
now.
No one else can ever say it again. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else I need to know? Anything else you want to say?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that kind of covered it all. I will say, I guess, we're an independent transaction coordinated company. We work with agents across the country, individual agents. I think something of note to put out there as well is we do work with brokerages, right? So if a brokerage itself needs help in internal structure and support, we can actually take, and to teams as well, we can take that TC that you have and we can put them into our systems and have them run your files to where it is a more streamlined and processed situation for them, to where hopefully the turnover rate that typically happens within inter-office staff doesn't happen as much because you at least now have a system in place.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So when someone wants to get in touch with you to help them with their files, either on the brokerage team or individual level, how do they do that?
So you can go to our website at ccmetransactions.com. You can also send us an email. It's just tc@c2cmgt.com, contract-to-close-management.com. Or you can give us a call, 775-453-0093. So we are everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yep.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.